I don't know. Qigong is a pretty good. Tai Chi is like, but Qigong is just as good. Pretty good training for this Dakini dancing business or whatever. All the Shambhala arts or the contemplative arts or Nalanda arts, I'm calling it. I think we need a new name for it. If you're about to slice somebody in half with your samurai sword and they say, oh, look at how good he is at the contemplative arts. You say, what? What? Contemplative arts is pretty damn good. There's nothing wrong with it, honestly, but Shambhala arts was it, and then it was changed, unfortunately, but whatever. That means nothing, but Nalanda arts or contemplative arts is part of what we're promoting here. And what was a third of Trungpa Rinpoche's teachings? Do you think a third of Trungpa Rinpoche's teachings should be preserved or dumped in the trash? I think there was a reason behind that being a third. Shambhala was what we learned was third. A third was Tibetan Buddhism, essentially Kagyu Nyingma Dharma. A third was the Shambhala teachings, which is all about mind-body synchronization and how they incorporate that. So, it's more like half, really. There's a part of it in Kagyu Nyingma, but the Kagyu Nyingma Buddhism that came from Tibet, they didn't have this problem that they have in the West. Trungpa Rinpoche realizes this, and other teachers realize this. Or here's what the Tibetans, and they talk amongst themselves. They have two inevitable conversations. Number one, talking about Western students, how the hell can they hate their mothers so much? How can they not love their mothers? They don't understand that at all. It's inconceivable. Two, why don't Western students progress what we would consider normally in meditation? Take a Tibetan student, or the way they did it in Tibet, okay, now we're going to do Vajrakalaya practice. So you go and practice this for a month, 6 months, whatever. And you come back and you report to me. So the Tibetans go and they do the practice. They come back. The guru says, what did you experience? And they say, well, I had these dreams, I had these visions, I had these experiences. Teacher says, oh, good, well, you've completed the task, you did that, now I'll plan the next thing, Western student do the same thing, come back, no dreams, no visions, no experiences. What's the teacher supposed to do? They don't know what to do. They don't know what to do. What's gone wrong, What did we do wrong? Something went wrong. Well, in 100 or 200 years, the Tibetans will figure it out, and it'll be incorporated and included this body-mind training approach that they didn't have to use so much in Tibet. I mean, it was all about body-mind, but people got it, and people were not as frozen, man. People in Tibet did not spend 95, 98% of their energy trying to be frozen. They would not have survived the winter if they did that. You better be free-flowing with your mystic heat or you ain't going to live through the winter. It's not going to happen. You'll be popsicle. In the West, none of us dive that way, you know. We die of cancer when we're 54, you know, or 61 or something like that, but that's a little different. The Shambhala teachings, you know, he tried to get everybody, you know, everybody, now all my students must practice Kyudo. I'm bringing the #1 Kyudo teacher in the world over from Japan, and every one of you people must practice Kyudo. And you should have seen the Kyudo class. You know, there were 60 people in my Kyudo class when first time I went in Boulder. And all the top dogs, you know, he made all the board of directors study Kyudo. They were the first group of students. Why do you think he did that? And you know, it didn't have to be Kyudo. It's the best, but, you know, dressage is probably the second best. Tea ceremony is very good, but, you know, you're going to be in that tea room a lot. You know, tea ceremony is just as good. The atmosphere will kill you. Your heart will break open like a whatever. Every time I was in the tea room, the essential experience was we had all made love, you know, and I was just shattered. This guy here was shattered. Calligraphy is fantastic, man. Nobody knows what the hell they're doing, and there's nobody to teach them what they're doing, you know. And then Trungpa Rinpoche was a master calligrapher, and you know, he just said, do it, you know, and there should have been some people that got it and could teach it, but whatever. It's tough. It's a tough thing to get from where we are as Westerners. What you got to put into it to get to the other side is a lot. You know, Alexander people, in the beginning, you know, I'm doing some Alexander and then I'm doing more Alexander. And this is just the greatest thing. And then, you know, you get to a point, oh my God, you know, there's no me anymore. There's no my world, my ego. There's just, it's surrendered Alexander, which is going to be 100% of everything. It's going to take over everything. You know, the commitment that eventually comes out of that kind of thing is unbelievable. The amount of hours you're spending soon, all your waking hours practicing Alexander, you know, you could do anything with Alexander, but, you know, that's a lot of hours. 16 hours a day for 50 years added up. It's a big commitment. But, you know, you love it. You love it, Cher. You love it. And you got to surrender like that. The Dharma is exactly the same. Funny, this seems like exactly the same as the Dharma. Yeah, funny. Funny that way. But, you know, Kyudo's like that. I mean, dressage is like that. Calligraphy's like that. Then the third one was Shambhala arts, now called contemplative arts. Let's be kind to the martial spirit and call it Nalanda arts. Third of the program, if you really get into it, you'll be totally into it. It'll change your life. But if you include Alexander, to me, Tibetan Buddhism is 100% with Alexander. It's all the same. Shambhala training, even more so. Contemplative arts, even more so. But then, I don't know, you put it all together and learn about alignment, relaxation, resilience. Start delving into, it's almost like that phase is the Kagyu phase. The Kagyu phase is the shamatha side of the nature of mind, and Dzogchen is the Vipassana side of the nature of mind. The Kagyu is more on skillful means, and now let's, go through all this stuff to transform our emotions, and let's go out to the lake and look at the water and the sky and the birds and the bees and everything's buzzing out there. Let's use that kind of richness of the phenomenal world to ignite Mahamudra, but in Dzogchen's, why would you want to do all that work, you just rest your mind and nature your mind, and you got all that, and you don't have to do all that heavy lifting. With the great Dzogchen teachers, what do they want to do? Let's go see what the Kagyus are doing, to hold the highest view is one thing, and to know how to get there is another, and even though if you have perfect Dzogchen, you might fall on your ass occasionally, and it might be nice to know. I don't know. The Dzogchen elites want to learn themselves some Kagyu, and that's a whole. The Kagyu elites, they want to learn themselves some Dzogchen and see how the other half lives. It's the union of Mahamudra and Dzogchen. In the beginning, I feel very fortunate to have studied Mahamudra for I don't know, maybe let's call it maybe at age 22 to age whatever, it's just called age 60. I feel very fortunate to have studied Mahamudra for 38 years before I knew jot about Dzogchen, but then studying Dzogchen was a good. It's hard unless you are going to be a guru from day one. It's hard to teach Mahamudra for me, even though when I get cranking it, I can start talking about the gurus of the Kagyu lineage, and I can talk about that all day and what they went through and what they did and the suffering they went through. You don't find that in the Enigma. You don't find it. The Kagyu, you find all the hard work of climbing that mountain and what those guys went through, and so, I forget who it was, but it's either Talopa or Tamarpa. To Naropa. I think it's Naropa to Marpa. When Marpa leaves Naropa, it's Milarepa to Gampopa. Gampopa's leaving Milarepa, and he said, "I'll give you my last teaching." And he turns around and shows him his bare ass, and there's all these like sores from having sat on rocks for years. Just when I was a Sufi, they taught us to sit on rocks. I don't know. You just could sit on a rock. You see a big rock out there. You get up there, and after a while of doing it, you just know how to sit on it. And I don't know, whatever. Anyway, he just had these sores on his ass from having meditated 20 hours a day for 40 years or something. I can teach Muhammad like that, but I don't know. But Dzogchen, you just listen to Tuku Ugen. Read As It Is, Volume 1, and then read As It Is, Volume 2. The next thing you want to do is read As It Is, Volume 1, and then you'll want to read As It Is, Volume 2. Then you want to read As It Is, Volume 1, and then you want to read As It Is, Volume 2. Same with Longchenpa. It's kind of the same way. You read his great book. There's a text, that's like one book, and then there's the text and commentary, that's like another book, and they have different names, but you read that shit and and it's this very simple message, and after you've heard it about 100,000 times, it's easy to understand, easy to teach. Just the words that strike the vital point, the 3 words that strike the vital point. That's all you got to really. It's so easy to teach that. The view. First you work on the view.